So from this family, it would seem that you were designed for acting. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure how much of it is genetic and how much of it is kind of, you know, when you grow up watching your mother dress up in costumes and kind of become really empowered by these roles that she's playing, and she's sort of pretending for a living. I mean, it's very intoxicating to see that as a child. And I also loved the atmosphere in the house, and it was always filled with creative people and people singing around the piano, and it just seemed like a very magical way to be a grown-up. So I think.
And what about? And it was, as you said, a close family. So what was the reaction again? What kind of problem do you have when you had to do your sort of nude scenes in films? Because in this, of course, there's some quite explicit is not the word, but there's some very good love scenes actually. Good in the sense that anybody watching it, anybody watching it would think, yes, that's lovely. That's rather nice actually. They're two people who are really in love. But nonetheless, the issue of nudity. How did the family address that, or how do you address it with the family?
Right. Well, it was harder when my father and grandfather were alive because they were the two that I was really worried about. And I remember actually when the premiere of Shakespeare in Love was happening, my grandparents always came to everything, and they were coming, and I was really nervous about it because, you know, there was the whole unraveling scene, and seeing the breast is sort of part of the thing.
The revelation that
she's not actually a boy. That's right. And I took my grandfather aside because I was very nervous about it, and I said, you know, Grandpa, I just want you to know that I am topless in this film, and I hope it's not going to upset you. And he said, I've seen it before. 2 eggs, sunny side up.
So no problem.
No problem.
What about Shakespeare in Love? I mean, in that, as you said, you played both a man and a woman. Did you notice differences as you played the two different sexes of people to you and the way that you were as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? Well,
when I was dressed up as the boy, I was normally with all the other boys playing all of the other actors in the troupe of the Admiral's Men. And I think it was a combination of the mustache and the wig and the boys' clothing that after a while, it's not that they forgot I was a girl, but they just, there was an element of it. I mean, their behavior really shifted, and they would, you know, make much dirtier jokes and burp and everything in front of me, and things that they didn't do when I was, you know,
a woman.
And
what about the walk? Because as Eddie is now learning how to walk like a woman. Men walk differently. Did you learn how to walk differently?
Yes. They gave me sort of a corn-filled sack.
Oh, the codpiece.
Well, no, not in the codpiece. In the actual man's pants.
Oh, I see.
So
what did that do?
That, well, in theory, it sort of changes the center of your gravity and gives you an idea of what it might be like to have something there.
Oh, I see. I'm getting very slow. You know.
Depends how big your penis is.
Speak for yourself.
I've never, I wouldn't have thought that would make a huge difference. But psychologically, I mean, it could be half psychological, half, you know, whatever. Because you can certainly scratch down there a lot, in a lot of a more heartier way. There's a lot more going on.
Now, on Shakespeare, because of it, you won the Oscar at the age of 26.
I did.
Did that change things for you? Or how did it change things for you? Obviously, it did change things. How?
Well, it sort of thrust me into this very new place in my life, because I think that, you know, I kind of went overnight from being the underdog to being, and people saying, oh, we hope you win, and people being really supportive in the street, to being kind of, you know, you could just feel the tides turn of people resenting you and thinking...
Resenting you?
Yeah, it was very strange. I mean, just because to be 26 years old and win, I think, you know, it's quite a lot to take on. And also, my grandfather was dying at the time, and my father had just been diagnosed with cancer, and it was a very emotional time in my life, and I just sort of felt like, oh, I don't think people are rooting for me anymore. It was probably my perception of it.
Yes.
But...
Yes. But when your father died, did that change things? Did that change the way that you thought about things?
Oh, absolutely.
Did it? In
completely.
What sense?
Well, I think mainly because I spent my 20s working at a furious pace, and I just did film to film, back to back. And I did some, you know, a couple of really good ones and a bunch of really crap ones. And I think it was a combination of my father dying and turning 30, and I thought to myself, you know, life is very precious and it's worth something, and I don't necessarily want to work a 14-hour day all the time. I would rather, you know, scale my life back and make more out of it.